Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and discuss Heartworm, a game that I initially wasn't going to be playing, but obviously we had some spare time, so I figured I'd squeeze it in. Obviously, it is a retro like survival horror kind of a game, similar to that of Resident Evil, Silent Hill. Heavy influences from those games of the late 90s, and it takes a lot of influence from it, and it literally just imposes it and throws it into this into this modern genre. With obviously it does give you modern controls and things like that, so that you're not exclusively locked to an old style of game, but more or less on the surface a unique story that utilizes it's even got fatal frame elements with the whole photography or the camera as a weapon thing. So it does borrow elements or influence from a lot of different games of the at least Japanese horror style, the classic Japanese horror survival horror games of yesteryear. It definitely borrows elements, and it's more like a tribute game to that genre by throwing it back almost 30 years. You know what I mean? Like it's been like basically this type of game is something you would have seen like 30 years ago. So I think it's pretty nuts. But anyway, let's go into some more detail let's start with what I did like about it. I think the game was very, very strong at being able to, and I saw a couple of people threw this out there as well, of using the format of the old 90s horror game, but also not being just a direct copy of it. It did kind of take its own thing, inspired. There were a lot of elements, not just about survival horror, but psychological horror as well. So there's that psychological, like what you're seeing isn't real, excuse me, some surrealism here and there. So there's all sorts of elements, and obviously the enemies were unique. There were some things that you weren't really expecting. You didn't really see that much. The concept is underlying the same, but it was a unique take on the genre. Obviously being able to bring this back and give it a unique story and a unique like character and all sorts of things like that do make it feel like it's not a copy, but you can tell it is like an homage. It's less of a copy, more of an homage to those old games. So it doesn't feel like you're just in a clone. You know what I mean? Because a lot of games have done, this isn't the first type of game to do this style, but it is probably the first to really stand out among the rest in terms of what it tried to do and what it, and it is noticeable for that. So I got to give it credit for that. And obviously, like, I do like the retro style. I think it's pretty cool that it is like, the 90s style is back. I think that's pretty sweet. So it's definitely like a nostalgia hit as well for a lot of the older gamers out there. So I think those are some major points that need to be mentioned. In terms of some of the things I didn't like, yes, I understand. I want to go out and say I totally understand that this game is meant to be old school. It's meant to be how things were in the 90s. But unfortunately, much like what I said about the Tomb Raider remaster, Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3 remaster, I don't know if you guys remember that, was when you make a modern control and you give the option for modern control, make sure it actually works. I think the biggest thing is the controls were fine. It's just the camera angles that mess things up. So more or less when you were moving forward, it would change angle, and even if you didn't release the stick, you know how sometimes if you hold it in the direction, it'll maintain the direction you're going, even if, say, you're walking, now the camera is facing, so you're facing away and you're walking away from the camera, and then it changes angles and you're walking towards the camera. If you let go of the stick, most of the times it would basically reset you and you'll have to change direction on your controller. But if you were walking forward and you just hold forward the whole time, even if now the camera angle is having you go backwards, it will keep you going that direction. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you won't lift the thumbstick and it will just change your direction. Like you saw me spinning a couple of times and things like that, where I'll be holding up or something, and I'm like, I know in my mind, don't change it. And then you're trying to figure out where you need to turn, and then it changes too many times. So it gets really confusing. Sometimes it doesn't actually lock in on where it should be, and it makes it really frustrating to do anything, and just move around is really annoying, especially when there's enemies in the vicinity. You're like, where am I aiming? And you try and aim down the sights, and then you're looking up in the wrong way and they're right behind you. It's just the camera switching was way too aggressive. And I think if you're going to try and do the retro thing, one of the worst elements I'd say about those retro games was fixed cameras. It's very outdated. I'm not saying it's like not nostalgic, but it's not a very good way of viewing a game. It does change I guess it adds to the horror and the fact that you can't really control where you're seeing, but I think it just felt like they were trying to do something more modern, and it just didn't really work. So I think the actual camera angles themselves, again, fine. I'm fine with a fixed camera, but the way they were switching so dramatically, and if you're in like one spot, it's over here, one spot's over here, and it's like not like a smooth, like, okay, I'm looking from here, now I'm looking here. It's like there's 4 angles in one area, and it's like that's too many angles, so it just looks a little bit nuts. So I think they needed to tone that down a little bit. Aside from that, gameplay, not much there. Resident Evil, to be honest, was obviously like the classic Resident Evil games had way more substance to their combat. This one's just taking a picture. When you really think about it, the enemies weren't that hard, and considering there isn't really a difficulty setting, it's not really something you can adjust. So the AIs, once you get the weapons you need, you're never really running out of stuff. There was, I'd say, like in the early stages, I was starting to run out of ammo or film, I guess you could say. But if you're smart with it, you really don't have to worry about it. So the enemies don't pose that much of a threat. Same with the bosses. The bosses are just kind of more tedious than anything. And even then, once you figure them out, it's easy money. Like, I think about it, like all of the bosses, I didn't really struggle on any of them at all, especially the final boss, who is particularly easy, and he had a few weak spots or she had a few weak spots, I guess it was female, that really messed things up. So yeah, obviously that was a big problem there. I think the combat and everything is relatively just not necessary. It's like I said, you're gonna give me a bit of a challenge. I appreciate you with all like the classic game style. I do understand it's gonna make things harder to combat these guys, but they just seemed kind of pointless. They're just there to just get in the way. That's the one thing I noticed. The big thing about the game is the puzzles, which unfortunately do feel a little bit cryptic at times. And while I know, again, I'm going to keep saying this, but it is how things were back then. This one just seems kind of all over the map, and there's not a whole lot of organization with it. I just feel like I said, I'm going to compare it to Resident Evil. Resident Evil, even though it was very cryptic puzzles as well, it had some more organization to it, and it was more memorable, where everything was just literally copy paste in certain areas, and you're like, I don't know the difference between this hallway and that hallway. The map system was confusing. Like, there's just a lot of things that make it harder to play than need be. Obviously, solo game dev, I do give them a break with that, but in terms of this, it was one of those games that, despite having like a unique story and a unique take on this classic, I just don't think it's really gonna, win any awards. But it is not going to break the bank. It's not that expensive a game, and there is some replay value here, just in the sense there's multiple endings and there are collectibles and things, so there are things for you to get. But overall, I don't think it's enough to really make it worth it. It might be like when it goes on sale, but I think for the time being, I think it's one of those wait for a sale games. But again, I am still impressed with it. I just don't think it really, I just don't think it does it for me. I just think it's kind of at that weird spot. So just to summarize everything at this point, I definitely like the idea. It's an original idea. It's a unique take on a classic genre, and the fact that it was brought back, the nostalgia hit is good. Obviously, the things look good. The fact that there is replay value, there are collectibles, there's things to do, there's things to really make you want to keep playing the game multiple times to get all the achievements and all that for a relatively low price. You got to respect that. However, the camera angles, the fact that they are retro based and they're just not polished for the modern gaming experience. The enemies aren't that special. The story isn't that special either. It's kind of forgettable, and you're not really going to pay too much attention. And obviously, like, it's just kind of like the puzzles are a little too cryptic, and the areas are just a little too repetitive as well, to really warrant anything crazy. Like I said, some of the early missions, like the neighborhood and the abandoned house, that was fine. But like once we got towards the clock tower, where everything looked exactly the same, it's such a labyrinth. And I know that's kind of a part of it, but it just kind of, I don't know, it made a bit of an attachment. I feel like it made things like take longer than it needed to. So that's just my opinion on that. So based on all that, I think it's fair that I give this game a 6 out of 10. I think it does things relatively well, but like I said, it's a more of an above average game, just above average. I don't want to give it just kind of a mediocre a score at 5, because I just think it does actually do things that are a little more unique, but I just think that some of the things were lost, and I feel like a lot of these things can also be adjusted with patching and things like that. I'd say this game is probably worth buying if you are a fan of retro 90s survival horror games, but maybe wait for the sale. Like, it's not that expensive now, but maybe wait for like $5 to $10 off. Get it for like $10 US, then go ham on it, because then you'll have a good chunk of game with multiple runs, trying to speed run and things like that, see how fast you can go. Eventually, all those issues I mentioned, you'll get used to them and you'll know your way around well, and I feel like it won't be that bad. But like, on the surface, gotta say what it is as it is. So 6 out of 10 for me. That's what I think. So either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe if you're new. Turn on those post notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss anything I put put out here on the channel. Be sure to like, follow my social pages. Got Facebook, X, Instagram, Snapchat, Discord. Those are linked in the description. If you guys want to get yourself a shirt or hoodie of mine, there's a link in the description. Also an embedded feature right below the stream/video. Scroll down, you'll see some preview items, but just go to the website for the full range of products and customization options there. Big shout out to the sponsors: DX Racer, Bones Coffee, The Ridge Wallet, Mad Rabbit Tattoo. I use their products daily. You can check them out for yourselves. But the links in the description. Be sure to use my promo code DANQ8000 to save at checkout with them. If you guys want to send something to my PO box to be opened on a social post or a live stream, whatever makes more sense for what's sent, you can check that out. The address is linked in the description as well, or it's just listed in the description. And finally, be sure to check out and sign up for the Team 8000 membership program if you haven't done so yet. It does support the page immensely. 4 tiers, 4 price points. Entry level starts at just 99 cents. It's a cheap and easy way to get into the program. But like I said, there's multiple tiers with multiple perks, such as custom badges by your name, custom emojis used in chat, exclusive video stream access, priority in open lobbies, giveaways, discounts, and plenty more. Working our way through the 200s again. Love to hit 300 members. If you guys want to help us get there, support the channel in the process while you get some cool perks. You can join that with the link in the description. Join button is below the stream. Also a section on my main channel page as well. If you guys want to gift members or send super chats or super thanks, you can do those with that little $ icon. Click it. You'll see those options there. If you're gifting, just remember you can do 1 to 50 in a single transaction, but ultimately you can gift as many as you want through multiple transactions, okay? Thank you guys again. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we catch you in the next one. All right, we'll see you then. Have a good one. Take care. Peace.
Who's the man with the plan? If you feel trouble wildin' wild on these violent and hit you 8,000. Wait a minute, hold that style is dialed in. Goddamn Billy Jack, we still riding, tires flat. I hear them sirens, see shots flying, so we driving, fire back if they ain't vibing. Lie with that, got me dressed up in all black. What up? Hood up, and I see them haters try to run with us. They gon' need inhalers. Gotta breathe them hard just like Darth Vader. Players, grab your respirators. Night invaders get lightsabered. Mask on for the shooters, move like trash to bed intruder. Got that Glock and got them woofers. Just press play, I'll keep it moving. Who is not? Still you damn fools. Keep it fresh like canned food. There ain't nothing we can't do, so tune into that damn Q. Yeah. It was never, ever a game.